Welcome everybody to this edition of SoulFull Sessions. I have the cosmic forecast coming up here with Madelaine Parker. We are excited that you have joined us. We're going to be talking about the energy coming up for the month of November. And Madelaine and I were talking before recording, and I was getting just a little sense of the picture, energetic picture of the month this November. And here are some of the key words that she described there. It's a month of change. And this was my favorite word, shake up. So we're going to have some shake-ups happening. However, we don't want to scare anyone. It's just more like the sense of shake-ups in order to see where we maybe need to course correct, or maybe where we need a little bit of the foundation shored up, or maybe we need to, put some compound or some spackle on the cracks in the walls, that sort of thing. So we're really looking at a situation this month of some big energy, and we've got some eclipse energy as well. So Madelaine, welcome. Thank you for being here once again.
Hi, Amalia. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to give this report because it's going to be a really interesting month. And yes, it's going to be big changes, radical. Whenever we have Uranus in the mix, expect the unexpected. In other words, it's very hard for astrologists to even predict anything with Uranus, but what they can predict is that there's going to be radical change. It's going to be a shift. We've got, and plus we have eclipses. So eclipses are all about, these are pivot points. These are eclipses will turn your life in the direction that your fate really is supposed to go. And that the harder you are resisting this change, the more sort of dramatic the eclipse experience is. So, and then plus, we're having this new moon in Scorpio, which is again a sort of a death and rebirth energy. And it's ruled by Mars, and Mars is in on all of this squaring. Which we're going to talk about. So, these are radical actions. We're going to feel motivated. We're going to be energized. We're going to want to make some changes. We're going to be making the changes. We're tired of something that there's a change we've been reluctant to make, that Uranus is going to come in and sort of shake things up and make us change it. So it's course correction, but really it's to our truth, because Scorpio is the truth. The sun and the moon are going to be in Scorpio, and Mars is going to be in Scorpio. Then we've got Venus also going in, Mercury going into Sagittarius. Mercury's in Scorpio right now. So we've got Mercury, Mars conjunct, squaring Saturn, with the sun squaring Saturn, opposing Uranus. Uranus is also squaring Saturn. So this is going to be interesting.
Wow, sounds like a lot of planetary action.
Very combusting, because the sun is with Mars. It's very combusting energy, explosive outbursts. Mercury in on the scene there. This is around the 10th and the 12th when Mercury and Mars start to square Saturn. They're squaring Saturn and conjuncting the sun, I think, at that point too. So, there's a buildup here happening. You can already start to see it in the collective, with sort of a rebellion about the mandates and people pushing back on some of the restrictions that are being governmentally put on everybody. So, you're going to see that really, really kick up pretty big.
So let's start maybe you mentioned the 10th and 12th, but let's maybe start the first week of November. Give us a little bit of like the general framework for the opening of the month of November from a cosmic standpoint.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, I think everybody can kind of feel the energies of Uranus kind of coming in here, because the sun and the moon there's going to be a new moon opposing Uranus. And Mars is when does Mars is currently, let's go ahead and share the screen, shall we?
Sure. Oh, I don't know if we have it. I don't know that we have it set up to do it right now.
Okay. then I will just sort of look at it here.
Yeah, take a peek at it and share with us what you
Hop
see.
back and forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the beginning of the month, I mean, right at the very, like today, let's go to today. Let's do the beginning of the month starts off with the sun squaring Saturn, the Mercury squaring Pluto. But we're really going to pass that. That's kind of some of the tension energy that people are feeling. Mars is currently at 0 degrees right as we speak. It's ingressing into Scorpio, which is, you know, a lot of that energy that people are feeling right now. And then which is, you know, a lot of people I know can feel the energy of tension kind of building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of feel it in your lower abdominal. And so that's building up to the 4th, which is in a couple of days here. Let's go to the 4th, where we have this new moon in Scorpio. And you know, also want to mention that, how do I find you again? Okay, here we go. Also, we have Venus conjuncting Juno. So Scorpio is also like deep, emotional. So these could be also very positive, romantic energy as well, because we got a Venus conjunct Jupiter. So depending, of course, what houses, you know, for Cancer anyway, it's a very strong relationship stuff, because we've got Pluto in the 7th house, these things going in, we've got Jupiter, I mean, Mars, Sun and Mercury and the moon all in your 5th house for Cancer. So anyway, it's not all bad. There's going to be sudden surprising knowledge or information coming out opposing the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon, so there's going to be revelations, there's going to be truths spoken, there's going to be a lot of romantic relationships that have been separate, and maybe twin flames, the truths are going to come out, there's going to be communication coming out. That's surprising, like very surprising. And action, because Mars is in the picture. Mars is all about action. So people that are ruled by Mars right now, Scorpio and Aries, they're going to be very fired up right now. Very charged, very, very motivated to move and act.
Do something. Yeah.
Yes.
Get out there and do something.
Yeah, but for everybody, this is going to be, of course, if you have a planet in Scorpio, you might want to look at your chart and see what will, because that's going to be a slightly more louder experience for you. And if you don't have a planet, it'll still, whatever house you've got Scorpio covering is going to be where you can expect some truths coming out, some revelations coming out, and I would say some shifting in decision making, like changes of your mind, in some sort of radical way around relationships or whatever house this falls in for you, whatever axis the Taurus Scorpio axis falls in. And by the way, whatever in your chart, I really recommend people studying their charts and knowing their charts so that you can just know, because for the whole month of November, because we got that eclipse at the end of the month in Taurus, that is, you're really going to be a lot of activation in your life. So for me, it's in the 11th and 5th, which is friends and relationships. So it's going to be very interesting. So the new moon, so the new moon in Scorpio is going to basically create a revelation, some truths coming out that will course correct you, pivot you. Also, these are relationships and situations that are more your truth. Scorpio is all about the truth, your true soul. It's about your soul, and it's about it's the unseen, and it's sort of that which has been unseen that is truly in your soul that you need to now activate and take action for.
So if for anyone who's listening now, Madelaine and I do new moon and full moon live on IG every month. It's the, the Thursday before the full or new moon. And it just so happens that this upcoming new moon on the 4th happens to fall on a Thursday. So we're going to be doing it on the actual new moon. So please do join us for those, or catch the replays, because even if you miss the replay on that day, the new moon isn't just the one day, it's going to carry through the cycle. So
Yeah.
even if you listen to it a little bit later, you will still get some valuable information that would be really helpful for you to navigate some of the energy. So just,
Yeah, we go through all the 12 signs. So, you know your ascendant. That's important.
So if you want to go ahead and tell us if
Okay.
any other exciting things are happening with the upcoming, with the first week of November, if anything else is going on that we need to know about.
Let's go to that. That's kind of it. I mean, we've had the squares, and you're going to be seeing that right now, because we've got the beginning of the month, we have the sun squaring Uranus, and we have Mercury squaring Pluto. It's finishing up. We have Mercury, Sun square Saturn, Mercury squaring Pluto. And so we're probably feeling that right now with some of the mandate backlash. People you're starting to see some of that energy right now. And so with this new moon in Scorpio, you're going to get opposing Uranus. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be on a collective level. I think you're going to see people, because Mars is there, I would say you're going to see some truths communicated. You're going to see, and also finances. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, so there could be some sort of financial shifting going on, some kind of truths coming out about finances in the sign of Taurus, which is Uranus and Taurus. Now, Taurus is in Uranus in everybody's chart somewhere, it falls. And what Uranus is doing in Taurus is it's reestablishing new structures and finances. It's reestablishing how we make our money individually, and how the collective and in the world, how we're restructuring something financially in the world. It's changing. But also in everyone's individual life, there's some evolution occurring where they're becoming more financially independent, utilizing social media more for their income. And by the end of the transit, which I think is in about 4 more years, we might be about halfway through that transit, you're going to start seeing financial liberation. And also because Taurus is a very stable energy, it's structure, it's long-term, it's ruled by Venus, so it's a benefic. So whatever shifts and changes that are occurring in every one of these transits that involve Uranus, it's to evolve you more and the collective to financial freedom and independence and liberation, which is why we also have right now Uranus squaring Saturn. So wherever Saturn, the government, or restrictions or are restricting our financial liberation and expansion, you're going to get pushback on Saturn. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's still the first week. You're still talking about the first week. Okay.
Yeah, and this is the thing pretty much till the end of the year. You're going to see it because we have an eclipse in December, and then we have another exact square of Uranus and Saturn in December, and that's really a point of like action point. But we've already had 2 of these transits already. January 6th was one. Somewhere early January. I forget, the other one may have been May or June. And so now we're getting the 3rd run of it. And when we get the 3rd run of it, everyone's really become more evolved in this matter. Whatever the situation is, there's going to be a progression. There's going to be a sort of a resolve. So and then, we won't go into that yet because I'm jumping ahead here, but we're looking at this new moon, Scorpio, the sort of the beginning of it. It's all building.
Yeah. Well, and with this upcoming new moon, it is a beginning. It is the start of a new moon cycle. And with Scorpio too, that's rebirth. There's a lot of energy. So for anyone who's out there right now that's feeling like their life is like kind of like, what the heck is going on? Everything feels very unstable and like we were sharing before, shaken up a bit.
Yeah.
This is all in preparation for the changes that are coming and for the better. It's all moving us in a bigger and better direction.
Yeah, so we're looking at transformation, death, and rebirth. It's purging, it's clearing, it's releasing the old stagnant ways, because we're developing a new structure here, a new foundation with the North Node going into Taurus here at the end of the month, the beginning of December. So we're really looking at establishing financial security and foundation, you know, we're shifting our lives to a more, everyone's going to start making more choices that are more foundational. And, you know, that's with the North Node going into Taurus in the end of the month here. Actually, I think the North Node technically will go into Taurus in December. Of course, it'll happen in December, but I just was wondering on the date of that. Do we have the North Node transiting in then? I have to look that up exactly when that happens. But anyway, but we are looking at letting go of old structures and ways of earning our money that are no longer foundational for us, that are no longer sturdy and secure. It's Taurus is all about security. So we've got this new moon in Scorpio rattling up what we thought was secure, rattling it, and then shaking it, releasing it, so that we're not making fear grippage choices. And then we're going to be forced in possibly crisis. Some of these moons show up as crisis. Full moons can show up as a crisis in our lives, and the eclipses can too, but it's really just revealing our resistance to a shift that our soul is pushing us to make.
I love that distinction between crisis and resistance.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like a crisis because there's some part of it that we are resisting. So that's really, that's really cool.
Yeah. And you want to sort of make fast choices, fast movement, fast decisions. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so what about for week 2 after we have that new moon that's transformation?
Yeah. Well, we have Venus in November 5th. We have Venus going into Capricorn. See, very stabilizing energy. Venus going into Capricorn is a very earth sign. So Venus and romantic people, romantic stuff is going to sort of, people are going to stabilize their relationships to the right relationship, the one that can last, these new structural foundational beginnings. And November 5th, we have Mercury going into Scorpio, which is going to zoom up and catch up with Mars and the Sun around the 10th and 12th, squaring Saturn. So we're going to get a lot. This is global, by the way. The whole world, you're going to get around that second week, you're going to feel a buildup of tension. And also, by the way, if you're a parent and you have children, your children, Mercury rules children, your children might be particularly rowdy and talkbacky and all this sort of stuff too. And then Mars is in on it. So there might be, if you know, this is a good time for you to really meditate and really practice your Mars, you know, knowing how Mars aspects your chart is really important right now, because then you can know how to sort of manage your Mars energy during this. But the idea is to kind of use this energy to fuel, it gives you a lot of energy to fuel change. And you can either funnel it through conflict. These are very powerful energies. These are combustible energies, but you really want to focus in on, this is energy of focus. You want to take this, because Mercury is about focus, Mars is action. So you want to take this and focus in this energy towards something very productive, constructive, creating the changes that you need to take. So you want to funnel that energy. So you don't want to get too distracted by the conflicts or it going against the grain, what you need to do, going against the reason you haven't created these changes in your life anyways, possibly because it's gone against the grain anyway. So now it may have gone against your dad, because Saturn represents the father, it may have gone against what your father may have been impressed about you in a personal level, but even in a collective level, we're going against the father, because the father represents the old and the sort of the way it used to be. And now we're shifting to, because Aquarius is all about innovation, it's all about technologies. So in order for us to change, we're going to have to go against the status quo. It's just part of the take. And we have to expand this way. The universe, we have to change. So we're going to go against structures and establishments that are preventing us from taking these expansive changes and shifts, and within our own mind too. We have sort of a matrix mind where we, you know, that battles our heart, where we're making choices that we think we need to make that create security and abundance, rather than our heart knowing, you know, a more soulful, truthful path.
So
which is more really Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, just with it's that rigid old way of thinking, that
Yeah.
pulls into that Saturn piece of it. And what's really interesting is that I had a session with a client today who her life is opening up in such unexpected and magical ways. So we've got the
Mm,
unexpected Uranus aspect of it, and then the following your heart versus your head.
mhm.
There's tons of reasons why, from a logical standpoint, some of the things that she is embarking on might seem like, wow, what is she doing? When really she's following her heart and everything is flowing,
Yes.
everything is
Yeah.
opening, everything is
Yeah.
working out. And I think that's a key piece to remember for folks now. It's you may have to go against the grain a little bit, that may feel uncomfortable, but there's going to be some part of you that feels drawn to do it, that's
Yeah.
feeling like there's a calling to do it,
Right.
and it
Yes.
will work out.
Yes, this really is about following your calling and aligning with the right truth for you
Mhm.
that will bring you to your stable future, which is your soul truth is always going to be stabilizing. Because that's where you're going to maintain interest that can
Yeah.
sustain a long, stabilized new foundation or structure. But so you know it's going to be interesting because on a collective level there's going to be a breakthrough with all of this too. So there is progress in this, as much as it may feel, because Scorpio is dramatic and it's intense, and it talks about fear. It's a lot of fear. So we're, a lot of people it's about freedom. So it's like facing your facing your fears and going for freedom.
Right.
Anytime you get a Uranus transit, that's people taking on their fears and embracing freedom, and fighting for freedom, and you know it's going to be interesting.
So is there any more like excitement for that second week of
Yeah, so we're
November?
going to get a buildup of those energies of that combustion, because then we're heading into the second week. I guess let's go ahead and move in. Then we get to like the next eclipse, because we're going to be getting a partial lunar eclipse on the 19th at
Right.
27 degrees Taurus. It's at the end of Taurus, which is borderline, which is right next to Gemini, which puts the North Node right there. And then the South Node is right there at the end degree Sagittarius, or early degree Sagittarius, end degree Scorpio. So we're really dropping an old structure for a new, in a big way, financially. And then let's look at the square, what's going on. Well, at that point, we're going to be looking at, let me look at the chart really quick here.
Okay, so we're
Um,
looking at like the week um of the full moon.
yeah, we're going to jump across now. So um, I'm going to, yeah, because really that week, we've got Sun square Jupiter. Oh yeah, we want to talk about the Sun squaring Jupiter too. And Venus is trining Uranus too. And Venus rules Taurus.
So what day is this,
So
Madelaine?
that we are looking at the 15th of November, I'm just looking at the other side of that squaring, with Mercury and Mars squaring Saturn. We also, which is the ruler of the eclipse, is Venus, and she's trining Uranus at the same time that the sun is squaring Jupiter. Now that's when things are going to look really interesting, because then what you're going to start seeing at that point, Jupiter squaring the sun is very powerful and then we're getting towards the end in Vedic, I was talking about earlier, where Jupiter is transgressing into the sign of Aquarius. So Jupiter is going to become much stronger. Jupiter ruled people are going to be much less blocked. Things are less blocked for Jupiter in general, which is for the people. So we're looking at some kind of victory here. in this, I want to say, rebellion, because Uranus is the energy of rebellious. So with the sun trining, what was it, Venus trining? Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and it's trining Uranus. And the sun is trining Neptune at that time, and the sun is squaring Jupiter. So, there's going to be victory here. I really see that. At the end of the month, you're going to see a big shift in the powers around the pushback towards the mandates and towards the restrictions. Some countries, some places might, depending on your chart, I think on some countries, they may, that are more Jupiterian ruled, are going to experience fast and rapid expansion and freedom from the whole thing. Like, and individuals who are Jupiter ruled, but also Jupiter represents the people in general and expansion. So Jupiter's expansion is going to win. Somehow there's going to be, somehow there's going to be some sort of easement or some sort of setback, but somehow the people will achieve some sort of victory that is freedom, because it's trining Uranus, Venus trining Uranus. So something, and you're going to see a lot of strength here. In Jupiter related things, in Jupiter related people. Like I've got my sun in Sagittarius, my moon in Pisces, so that's going to be strong for me.
Double.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Jupiter's advancement through the out of Capricorn. It's going to be good. So
are there any goodies in that third week besides the full moon? And again, we also have the live on that will be.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget with that, we've got Mars is going to get opposing Uranus, as not to mention these squares, Mercury and Mars are still opposing Uranus. So I'm going to say activities that action-based actions and movement changes that go that are, because it's going against Uranus here. This is what's interesting. There's going to be some sort of conflict involved. People possibly will be disagreeing on a lot of things. So there's going to be, this is a conflicting energy. Oppositions involves arguments. It's in Taurus, Mars and Scorpio, could be around finances. Some people predict this eclipse could be a kind of a financial collapse for the market. Some people say that that's in the works. But the Jupiter, the people, I think the people are going to stand very well in that, experience. Now, we were talking about possible lack. Taurus is about food and farming and stuff. So there might be an eclipse. So, we could see lack. I know we got a lot of crates stuck out in the ocean, and people are experiencing sort of lack, but really that's because we're supposed to sort of evolve into less dependence on sort of foreign trade and becoming more Aquarian, which is local technologies and the people that are around us, and sort of more, we're going to evolve. Like, you can't get that particular bottle of spumante from Florence, but you can get a really good version of it from California or from, another great vineyard in Portland or somewhere, So we're going to sort of become more home-based, more grassroots, more because it's bad for the environment anyway. So, and all this mass consumerism, that all these crates are out there and they're dumped. A lot of them get crashed. One of them, I think, crashed in the ocean and just spilled everything out in the ocean. It's just a bunch of junk,
Gosh,
you're all just buying too much junk. So it's almost like, so people might get freaked out about the lack and panic, but really it's so that we shift and we evolve and we adapt and we change and we start to develop our own sort of independent ways of acquiring of these things, that it's going to be better for the whole world anyway. So all these changes that appear to be, earth rattling changes. I mean, you know, your security might feel really shaken during this, but it's so that it's almost like God pulling this, and, you know, us holding on to the wrong things and helping us, like he's pulling our hands off it, and no, let go of this. This isn't good for us. You know, it's not good for us to keep importing all this junk, you know.
Well, you
And
know
so,
what? It reminds me of, you know, back in the day when we would have certain fruits and vegetables at certain seasons.
right,
You know,
that's right.
now we can get fruit, any kind of fruit all
Yeah.
year round, which I personally love, but I also recognize that it's not ideal. It's
Yeah, I
not,
mean, you know, we're a little spoiled in that sense. We sort of
yeah,
expect what we want when we want it, you know, and I think that's going to change. And I think we're going to be happier for it because it's better for our environment, it's better for the world. And, you know, you're pulling more local employment, you know, you're utilizing the people around you more. And so these are shifts and changes that I think, as shaky and rattling as it may feel to our sense of security, we develop more of a faith in the unseen and the divine, and you know, the universe supporting us. And you know, the way God works in our lives is we can't always see the benefit in the moment of
yeah,
what's happening.
that's so
So
true.
that's kind of what this is going to be about, you know, this month. And it's for our better good, and it's in ways that we've sort of been spoiled, and we now need to kind of mature and you know, the word is adaptable, but it's also death and rebirth. So we're going to have an awakening. This is an awakening period to sort of people shifting to doing what's good rather than indulgent, you know, because it's not really that great for us anyway. So we're evolving, you know, we're getting better and we're growing. And you know, these are the types of energies that force us to make these growths. And with these Mars charged up in Scorpio, it has a lot of energy because Mars is ruled by Scorpio. Sorry, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So when Mars is in Scorpio, it's pretty jacked up. It's ready to rock. It's ready to do it. It's ready to change. It's ready to take the actions that are needed. So
So is that, would you say that's pretty much, you know, we kind of touched on the first few weeks, would you say that kind of, that's the theme that carries through the whole month? You know,
yes,
we're
we
going to
do
be,
well, we also have, I did mention, we have the sun going into Sagittarius at the end of the month, and then we also have Mercury going into Sagittarius at the end of the month, which is a really optimistic, positive energy. Things are going to pick back up. You know, we won't talk about the next eclipse, but that's coming up early December, I think. Yeah, 5th. Anyway,
okay,
so we are, you know, we're going to see changes. It's kind of like that death and rebirth process where we release our fear attachments to things, and we open up and we allow the new progress to happen, the new birth. You know, it's like holding onto an old pair of shoes and saying, okay, I don't need you anymore. I love you, but I don't, you're so comfortable, but I have to say bye. And then you get, like, you know, a new pair of shoes that's actually way better for your feet, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But
so
it's hard to let go sometimes, you know,
it is,
especially if it's, you know, that's a great example of shoes. You know, you break them in, they're so perfect.
right.
They've taken you all these places, you have all these memories, and you just can't let go of them. And when you finally do, something even better shows.
Yes, and it's uncomfortable too, you know. So these are uncomfortable changes because these are changes we've been resisting, because otherwise Uranus wouldn't be in the picture, wouldn't be, you know, this electrifying energy coming in, just like zapping everybody, like going boom, like
Yeah, yeah,
we're gonna wake up. This is a mass awakening. To have these Uranian type transits is mass awakening, which is really awakening to our own power, like our own. We don't have to ask, you know, everybody thinking that. Here's the thing: Saturn in all these squares is an illusionary control. It's not. It's like the elephant with the chain that grew up with the baby had a chain and then grows up thinking he has a chain. It's like we have the illusion that Saturn allows us, doesn't allow us, is the rule maker. Well, the waking up period is when we go, well, we don't need to ask, we don't need to, our freedom is our right. It's our freedom is not something we ask for. We take it. So you're going to get these people in general with Jupiter coming in a really strong place at the end of the month, going, well, hey, we're realizing we don't really need to sort of do all this. We don't have to, we can just say no, and that's where there's power. In the opposings of Saturn, is that we don't have to support it. So you're going to see a lot of sort of liberating energies, people, like you're seeing it already, a lot of people quitting jobs where there's shop mandates, vax mandates. So, people are going to come out, I know this sounds really crazy, but this is what we're going to start seeing. You're going to start seeing individual, like healthcare workers and practitioners that had their license taken away because they didn't follow the COVID protocol, let's say, start up their own health advisory group under their own licensing agreements. Like they're making up their own licensing. We don't have to do it. We're going to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You're going to find, they say, okay, well, we don't have to follow the American medical, that's Saturn, the rule. In fact, we're going to come up with a new rule. And these are all the doctors who have, really high credentials and all of this, who are deciding to go against pharmaceuticals. And they're going to set up their own little network, their system that builds trust amongst their clients, that we don't need Saturn and the government to give us credibility and trust in our work. So you're going to start seeing people waking up. Oh, you mean I don't have to do it that way? You mean it's okay if they take my license away and I don't push the jab or whatever, I'm just using that as an example. So there's many ways that can work. So people are going to start seeing, oh, you mean I'm not allowed to do this? Oh, well, then I'll just do that. Like, oh, I can't go if somebody, let me think of another example, wants to start a business and you have to travel and you can't travel right now. Let's just say, well, maybe they set up a system where you can plan it for the future, or, they can start the structures for it. And later down the line, they can know, like, in other words, we're going to adapt to what we're not allowed, and we're going to get around it, because that's how nature works. Nature, if there's a big rock in the way, a tree is going to go around the rock and put its roots around the rock and get the water where it can. Right. So that's what we're going to see. We're going to see adapting and shifting of ideas, innovations too. People are going to be very resourceful. So like, yeah, okay, so there's lack, but people are going to be amazingly resourceful. People are going to start growing all kinds of food and homemade cheeses. They're going to have their own things going on. They'll buy milk from the farm and then they'll make their own cheeses and sell it, and it's going to have no pesticides in it, so it's like,
that's great. That sounds amazing to me.
Yeah. So we can look at these changes and they can be scary, but they're only scary if you're really attached to the way things have been. And a Taurus eclipse is changing a foundational shift. I mean, we are changing the way we live in a big way, and you're going to find out local politics is changing too. You're going to find like politicians are going to adhere to the rules of the people. It's almost going to be non-denominational. It's almost going to be what, Democrat, Republican, I don't know. We just need this, we just need to set this up. I mean, of course there's going to be some of that, but we might evolve away from that into just this politician represents this and in this area, and we become more locally politically active rather than caring about the global politics, because you can make our local politics is what's completely directly impacting our day-to-day mundane life. So we're going to see shifts and changes that improve the life for the people. And they're going to say, oh, forget the main government. We're going to do what we got to do for us here. Because the people are now what's going to matter. And as soon as Jupiter goes into Aquarius in the Vedic system, you're going to see a lot of strength there, a lot of power behind all of this Aquarian energy. We're entering the age of Aquarius. It's going to win. The people are going to win, zero doubt, because we're entering a 2,000-year period of the era of the people. And we just come out of the era of Pisces, which was the era of clearing karma, forgiving, becoming more high vibrational, so that we would be ready for this period, because the age of Aquarius is extremely high vibrational. So a lot of this stuff that we're going to let go of during these eclipses is our lower vibrational frequency, secure-based, fear-based stuff that's blocking us to create that expansion. So interesting, isn't it?
A big, yeah. Well, I mean, I think where we started talking about change and about shakeups, we're back here again, pretty much. But there's a really nice energy to it as far as what it's opening up for everyone, what it's allowing everyone to experience, which is something that we haven't had in quite some time.
Yes, I actually really do feel this is going to galvanize or bring everybody, the collective, to because some of these mandates are just too difficult for some people, that even people that are on the fence about this topic might lean in the favor of liberation, even if you do believe in the vax and all of that. You might, a lot of people are seeing, they still believe in a liberating environment, or people being able to make their choices. So you might find that the collective leans together on this.
Yeah.
And we are going to we've got a Pluto return. That's something we can talk about next time, which is coming up for America, where we are going to get a lot of truths revealed, a lot of things, a lot of sort of corrupt things coming out, becoming more publicly known. America's Pluto return. It was 240 years ago that we became an independent country, and that was a time of a revolution. That was a time of a rebellion. Although it was violent, it is not predicted that things are going to be violent this time, because in the age of Aquarius, it's more passive resistance. It's more just not doing it. It's just saying, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. We're not going to feed the matrix that represses us anymore.
And I think we're beginning to see that already. The shifts, those changes are happening.
Yep. And it's not, nothing in this country, freedom, all the freedoms that have been fought for in this country, in the history of this country, have taken to the streets. The labor rights and children, I forget, the labors for children, the laws for child labor, and all this kind of stuff. Throughout
Civil
history.
rights.
There's so many sort of freedom acts that we had to take for unions and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that that's all coming back, but my point is that everything, that all our liberations have always had to be taken. We've always had to stand up and say, we want we want this freedom. We don't want to be exploited here. And that's kind of the evolution of this country. It's so, but it's becoming a more great country because of that. We're going to evolve to, everywhere in the world, not just America, but the whole world is going to evolve into a place where the people have more say in our lifestyle, in our happiness.
Oh, that feels like such a nice, that feels like a really good spot for us to close that on a really high, happy note, on a, for a month that's going to be a wild ride. So
yes, and this is the secret of astrology. I'm going to tell you something really important about astrology. When you know your North Node, that's why I really preach this when I do chart reads for people, by the way. If anybody wants a chart read or a tarot read, contact me. But one thing you want to know is that there's always going to be challenging aspects in astrology. We've always got squares coming and things. So the idea is that we keep our eye on the North Node, which is what we're headed for, which is the benefic, which is our purpose, which is our calling. And then we just jump over the obstacles as they come, but we just keep our focus on where we're headed. And then we just kind of roll with the punches. You just kind of get out of the way, adapt. And so without getting too focused on them at the time, and So yeah, just stay in the light, basically. Keep your mind and head and heart in the light, and you'll get through it all, you know.
And I think it gets easier with practice too. Like it's the more you focus on where you're going, and you're less distracted by the things that block your path. You
Right.
find a way around them or a way to navigate them.
Yeah, they're
The
just trying to
easier,
align you.
yeah, the easier it becomes. Like the more you do it, the easier it becomes,
Yeah.
and you'll
More
find
aware you are. Yeah, when you become really aware of your own personal chart, and you know your planets, you know what houses are, you can really flow. It helps a lot.
Yeah, it does. You're right. I mean, I can speak from personal experience on that for
Yeah.
sure. It does. It helps a lot. So, well, Madelaine, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here today. And so
Thank you.
Madelaine and I are going to bid you all adieu for this month, but thank you so much for joining us on this month's SoulFull Sessions Cosmic Forecast. See you here next time.
Lots of love. Bye.